and that is why we are happy to be live with you on the Not Your Average Investor Show, Tuesday edition. Welcome officially, everybody. We're live on Facebook right now. I am your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, the man they call GC. He's a galloping cheetah in the morning rain this morning. You should have seen him, but also because his name is Gregg Cohen. Say hello, Gregg.
What's better, to be a gazelle or a cheetah?
Galloping cheetah? That's cool.
Hey, listen, it has to start. I can't say the noun before the adjective when I'm putting these things together, right? It's very different. It's very difficult. Okay, have some empathy with me. And with us today, you've been hearing from them a little while ago, Rene Arreola and Jen Filzen, who are amazing people. They live in Monterey, California. They met dancing. They teach dancing. They're published authors on how to build a business through dancing books. As they were just intimating before the call, they own this company. Actually, I guess, Jen, you own the company. Rene works with her, a couple that works together in a company called Rockstar Marketing that specializes in content marketing for auto repair agencies. Just incredible, creative, bright people, and we are so happy to have you here on the Not Your Average Investor Show. Welcome, Jen and Rene. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having us on.
We love you guys. We just, anytime I get the opportunity to talk with you guys, it just makes my whole day.
Well,
Awesome.
Jen and Rene, we love you as well, but I do have to let you know you're in rare company. You're the only guest on the Not Your Average Investor Show that we've had like twice in a 3-week span.
There's a
So for everybody who wasn't on the call probably 3 weeks ago, we had Jen and Rene and we had some IT issues. So thank you all for enduring those. It turned into a wonderful call because of all of the guests, all of the audience members throwing in questions. And we appreciate you guys giving us another shot, spending your time with us. So happy to have you guys here.
Listen, not just that, also the first ever, duo of guests, right? Like a guest bundle is becoming a word here that we like to use in JWB, because lately people aren't just buying one rental home; they're buying bundles. It's kind of a phenomenon happening right now. But I think going on with that phenomenon, we have a guest bundle today, which is wonderful. And really, Jen and Rene, we brought you on because you have this really, really interesting story. You're amazing, very well-spoken people and very talented, and we have this amazing relationship. But the core question that we want to get to, and we just want to start this way to get it rolling, is y'all bought rental income properties prior to purchasing your own home. In fact, you rent today as we speak. So just wanted to understand your mindset, right? What was going through your head when you decided to invest in a rental income property before buying your place of residence?
Okay. I would say that I started reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad book in 2008. And when I started just consuming his books, after that book, I just read so many. I think I have like 6 of his books on my shelf over there. And I knew that it was possible to get rental properties. But even though my parents had an electrical contracting business and construction skills run in the family, I am not that talented person that's going to flip a property. There is no way. And we're in California, and it's just ridiculously expensive out here. It has been, and it always will be. I would love it to when I can call California, or at least the areas that I want to be in. Yeah, there are some podunk places that are affordable, but they're nowhere near where you want to be, right? But the point is that I knew that flipping properties was not going to be an option for me, because I don't have the talent, I don't have the patience, I don't have the mindset, and I just rather do a turnkey thing. So when I found Jacksonville Wealth Builders, I was over the moon, because I'm originally from Jacksonville, born and raised, grew up in Orange Park, and the opportunities, and I met with you guys, and you guys were just amazing. And every step of the way that we've been with you guys since 2012, wow, has just been a complete joy. So finding you guys was a total wonderful thing. And let's face it, the math just made such sense. If we want to buy this place that we rent right here, which is a duplex, It was built in 1952. It needs at least $150,000 worth of work. It's valued right now at about $900,000. Even if I had $200,000 to put down on this place, if it was for sale, that's still a ginormous mortgage. It just makes so much more sense to have positive cash flow by investing in the Jacksonville real estate market. And it was also super cute because, as you guys know, we told the story before and I can repeat it if you want, the houses that we purchased are in the same neighborhood area that my dad grew up in. So it's just kind of sweet that you guys just had that perfect location, that perfect business model. And it was such an easy yes that you guys are going to have all of our money, all of our lives.
Well, let me ask something real quick, because you mentioned a couple serendipitous kind of circumstances that led it that way. But had you decided already that buying your residence wasn't for you, you had decided that flipping wasn't for you, and at that point you had already decided that you wanted a turnkey rental property, and then you found JWB? Or were you still kind of in a murky place of maybe you knew, it sounds like for sure you knew that you weren't going to buy an overpriced, $1 million duplex. But were you still deciding on which business model and which kind of, what way you were going to move forward before you found JWB, or had you already decided on turnkey rental income properties?
I already knew that turnkey was going to be the best thing. And the magic for me is as much as I love money and as much as I understand that money is math and math is fun, right? When you're making money, I'm not the accountant. I'm not the bookkeeper. I'm a creative. I'm the marketer. He's the artist. We are very creative, but math is not my strongest suit. Okay. I can handle it. My balances are made, but as far as figuring out how do I make money off of this? And the number one selling point for us when we decided on JWB, besides the great customer service, was the fact that you guys did the math ahead of time for us to show us before we even purchased. Every single property that we looked at with you guys was here's what the margins will be, here's what to expect, here's what you expect for profit. And I was it's done. Yes, let's just find the one with the biggest margin, the one that we can afford. Yay. It was so simple. Thank you for that.
Our pleasure, of course.
Yeah, funny you bring that up, the whole math thing, because I think our boy Galloping Cheetah over here has been doing a little math on the back end. You wanna talk a little bit about their investment and their portfolio and their deal, Greg? Is this a good time to kind of bring that up since we're talking about math?
Yeah, let's do it. We
right.
and Jen and Rene really haven't seen exactly how their portfolio has performed in totality, probably until now. So I thought I'd bring them back a little bit. We'll talk just about this neighborhood. What a cool story, by the way, that Jen's family actually grew up in the same neighborhood that now Jen and Rene, of course, are building the rental property portfolio. But, I'll kind of start here, Jen and Rene, and you guys can kind of just fill in the blanks here. We bought our first property together back in 2012 when you guys purchased the house on Miss Muffet. And at that time, that purchase price was market value, $83,000, which is an excellent time to buy properties. If you could have gone back in time in 2012 and bought a few more rental properties, would you have done that?
Oh, heck yeah. If I wanted to, if I had the money, if I had extra money buying at the bottom of the market, hello, duh.
Now that happened to be the best time probably ever to buy a rental property, right? But I hear that comment all the time, right? I hear that comment today or I hear that comment 2 years ago versus today. I'll hear that same comment 2 years from now versus today. And really, in reality, when it comes to owning rental properties, appreciation is the bonus on top, right? And we don't know how much the market's going to grow in the short run. One of the best things that you guys did when you guys decided to invest with us was you were committed to the long run, right? It wasn't about what's the value going to go up this year or next year or whatnot. You're in for the long haul because you love the cash flow. Those are the margins that you're looking at. And that's why you guys have stuck to your plan. And that's why you can really count on home price appreciation if you invest for a full market cycle, just like Jen and Rene.
Okay. So let's talk about, first of all, I just want to say when can we bring on a Miss Muffet Lane property for Thursday so we can make stupid Miss Muffet jokes the entire call?
I've got a good one for Thursday. I've already been looking at it. There's a good story for the one on Thursday.
I don't know if y'all were there on Thursday, but he brought up it was a property on Checkmate Lane, and I think, how many times did we say checkmate?
At least we checkmated that one. 47, I think.
Nice. Yeah, that whole neighborhood, Miss Muffet, Snow White Drive. I mean, like the whole fairy tale characters. It's super cute.
That is rich with narrative. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, so that neighborhood is the west side of Jacksonville. We love that neighborhood. It's one of our 4 main neighborhoods that we invest in and that we have all of our clients invest in. And there are so many positives about that neighborhood, from cash flow, right? From the jobs that are there, from the type of neighborhood, the below middle income type of neighborhood that we want to be in. But I want to make sure we show all sides of the neighborhood so you guys can see exactly what Jen and Rene decided to invest in, right? They came in here, and if you heard Jen talk about why she loved the property and the decision to buy it, it was because of the margins, right? Jen and Rene are looking at the return on investment. If you guys are here on the Thursday show and we break down that property just like we did on Checkmate, the first thing we always go to is the margins. So it's wonderful to partner and build a relationship with Jen and Rene because they get it, right? You got to look at the margins. But there are some parts of the Miss Muffet Lane and Barmer neighborhoods that are not that appealing, right? We should call a spade a spade. Jen, do you want to kind of talk about, I put the school ratings here and the crime rating here. Would you say that the neighborhood in Miss Muffet and Barmer are necessarily the nicest neighborhoods that you would ever want to live in?
Section 8, baby.
Yeah, there's Section 8, right? Section 8 is the housing program where the government subsidizes your rents, right? And the key here is we're choosing below middle income neighborhoods because that's where we get the best combination of positive cash flow, being in a growth market like Jacksonville, and being in a neighborhood where a professional property manager like JWB is comfortable and wants to manage your home, where we can get long-term leases. But you got to be able to give up on a couple of things, right? School ratings, if you're in a below middle income neighborhood, you're not going to have above average schools. So if you look at these 2 properties, 3.5 out of 10 on the school ratings that they do, the great school ratings, that's kind of what you see there. And then from a crime rating perspective, it's medium, meaning that there are crimes that happen in that neighborhood. Now, they're not violent crimes. That's what we stay away from, but crimes happen there. And it's important to know that these are the types of neighborhoods that you can see success in.
Yeah. And also, too, if I may add, if I remember in 2012, there were so many houses that were foreclosed. I mean, that was the bottom of the market. Real estate was a dirty word to a lot of people. And JWB actually made that neighborhood nicer. And all neighborhoods go through cycles, right? My dad grew up on Snow White Drive in that neighborhood. My grandmother, who's been there for 50 something years, she's over off of Waterside Drive. They're still in that area, and it has been the nicest neighborhood. And then of course it goes through its cycle, and guess what? Someday it will be a nice neighborhood again, because it is a lovely area of town. And because of what you guys have done, you actually brought the neighborhood up a bit. Mm-hmm. And when we have had issues with, I think my very, very first tenant had a break-in, and it scared her, so she moved out, but we quickly found another renter to replace her. And I believe that the tenant that's been in there now has been in there for a long time, like 6 years. So your management side of things also is just really great. You have great communication with the tenants. Whenever the tenants need something, you guys let us know what they need so we can handle it, whether it's a new door or whatever. But like, it's just stuff. But you guys are just the masters of just taking care of everything, so we don't have to have any stress. And it's been a joy.
I think when we talk about long-term investment, that's a term that applies in so many different ways. Because on the one hand, if we're looking like Jen was, and I in 2012 to invest in something, we know this is a long-term plan. It's a long-term concept. And that goes to the same thing to say about JWB, because, you're creating these opportunities, but you're also putting back into these areas that are on paper, it's like, yeah, the school rating is not, it's below, there's medium prime. So that's long term to say that we're just not going to be one and done. We're done in 5 years. It's like Jen said, it's like, 20, 30 years. There's like a certain legacy that's starting to come into all this. And I think that's important too, to know.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Well, so, but you're talking about now having experienced it, right? Like you've been there for 10 years. When you first got this address, and I would imagine it was sent to you via, one of the property breakdowns, Jen, did you do like a double take? Were you like, oh, is this where I want to invest right now? Or I mean, like, how did did you have to kind of overcome that in your head, or were you already bought in on this concept?
You're good. You're going to love this one. So when I told my parents what we were going to be doing, they were like, oh, that sounds too good to be true. Oh no. Remember this, Greg? Remember?
Oh, I remember this. I love this story.
So what I did was my dad in particular, he had asked, he's like, well, how do you know? This sounds too good to be true. This just sounds like it's a scam. How do you know? And I said, Daddy, I can't boil down for you in one conversation the research that I've been doing for 3 years. But here's what I'd like you to do. Why don't you and Mother come with us and meet them, and they have their lunch. That's another wonderful selling point. You always get me with food, guys. Anytime you feed me, you own me, right? And so it's like you had your lunch, and it was back in that little house that you guys had. It wasn't
You remember the old office. There aren't too many folks that remember the old office.
We do.
The old office, man, it was just this house that just kept morphing and squeezing more people in, and your cute little kitchen, and you had that little gal that would like bring in the catering every single day, and we'd sit around the table. It was so fun. So my parents were like, oh, okay, these are nice people. And then we went out and looked at property. Well, yes, the houses were super cute because your team, man, you take a nasty looking property and you make it cute. And the neighborhood may not be really fantastic, but the house is fantastic. Mm-hmm. So that was totally awesome. And then as we are purchasing our first property, so do my parents. So on the same day, Mr. and Mrs. Skeptic, they end up buying as well. So you've got the whole Filzen family going on.
I can't tell you what that means. It's funny because I have seen that kind of, call it a 180, happen so many times. And it happened the same for me in my own family, by the way. Like when I was first starting and I had this vision and I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing with my own rental properties. My, people in my family, I won't call them out by name, but everybody's like, Greg, please don't do that. What are you thinking? And then, now they're all investing, so it's that process of just kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, enlightenment, whatever. It's so fun to watch. It's been such a joy serving you and your family.
Yeah, we appreciate it tremendously. And because of you guys, they were able to retire. And honestly, my daddy passed away earlier this year, but my mother always says, thank you for introducing me to those guys and gals, because that's how we were able to retire when his dementia started getting really serious. And so thank you for being our partners in our future, because, as self-employeds, we don't have pensions. We have to make our pension, and that is through you guys. Wow. And I'm loving the comments, by the way. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, John. And I'm glad that you love my parents' story, because it's true. It's like, this is a family thing, right? You got to make sure that you take care of your own. And I'm thrilled that I know that my mother is secure in her investments because she's with JWB. They lost a lot of money on the stock market way back in the day, so they got really gun shy. So, you guys are allowing her to live comfortably. Thank you.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Jen, you mentioned as you were telling that story, right? And you talked about that you've had this, you were trying to boil down all this real estate education into a quick conversation with him. And I know that you've continued your real estate education, right? We were just, why don't you flash up the 10 books that you're reading right now? more, but no, yeah.
Yeah. Forever the student, because I'm a big believer that if we don't continue pushing ourselves and our knowledge, then we're too late to the party. So that's why I continue to, in fact, you know what's really cool? Here's another, I hope you guys don't mind that I just go on and on about the wonderful things about JWB. And I swear, guys, they are not paying us to say these things. We genuinely feel these things. You know, the community that you are building around the Not Your Average Investor show, after our last meeting, which was a failed attempt because of all the technical stuff, but I was in the chat because of remember, we couldn't.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, we remember.
But I was in the chat, and I'm making friends with Marilyn, and I'm making friends with Lee Bishop, and it was so cool because Lee had some interesting points. I'm like, can we talk after this? So we actually got on the phone and like talked for like 45 minutes.
No way.
Yes.
Because you guys are building community, and we want to share because we want to learn and grow and know what to do. And he had said some things about flipping properties and different investments. And I was like, ooh, I'm studying it. Can we talk? And so we did. And so thank you for building community around this topic, because not everybody in our families, not everybody in our friends circles, and especially since we're more isolated in COVID, right? It's not like we can just run out and say, hey, what do you know about property? Do you know anything about property? And they're like,
Yeah. I tell you what, I was talking to Pablo this morning when we were running, and I said, man, you know, I'm kind of taken aback by the community that we have, and how it's all come together, and how it's just so fun and engaging. And, you know, he said, well, you know, you probably have already had it. You just never had a place for them to meet. And I feel like that's what the show is, right? I feel like we've been able to work with folks just like you. And there's thousands of other folks that are just like you. They have the same mindset, and they're somehow connected to our business. And so I'm really thankful that we have the show too. That's a big credit to Mr. Pablo Gonzalez over there.
oh yeah, the wingman of the year.
Man, I was literally just thinking how good Gregg must feel when you were telling that parent story, and now you guys got me all verklempt. And yeah, man. Listen, it's we're not gonna get too gushy here, right? But like, it's an honor for me to have this opportunity to do this. But Jen, I wanted to dive deeper into the education thing, because we're just before the show. We're just talking about, you know, you got some viewpoints of the market, you got some questions. Let's talk about that, right? Like, it isn't. You know, this isn't just a JWB love fest, right? Let's talk real estate. What you got going on?
Yeah, right. Okay. So, all right. Keep in mind, we're in Monterey, California. We're in the tourist area where all the people want to be. It's cool. We have San Francisco weather, but we don't have San Francisco craziness of traffic and that kind of stuff. So we have beauty. We have Pebble Beach. A lot of people are. Pablo's been here. Gregg's been here. Yeah, you guys know, if you love golfing, you've heard of Monterey, you've heard of Pebble Beach, you've heard of Carmel. We're in a very nice area. Translation, we're in a place that's really expensive, right? San Franciscans come down here to get away from San Francisco. And we are self-employed, right? So when we look at it, it's like the market here is just ridiculous. And it has been for a long time, but like, you know, the market was starting to soften in the end of 2019, and I've been paying attention to it, because believe me, I do want to buy a house here. I do. But the market's just nuts, right? And people are buying at the top of the market their residents, not rental properties. Well, I guess they could be buying rental properties, but the math is not really good out here for rental properties. It just doesn't make much sense. And with all this uncertainty, I'm so curious as to what you guys think. Why are these people buying their residences at the top of the market right now? It's ridiculous. It's almost like, hello, can we say bubble? Like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to get your viewpoints on it, because educate me as to why people would buy their own residence right now.
Well, I think for a lot of folks out there, there's the commonly held belief that that's what you should do. And that's what guides a lot of people in their real estate purchases or how they live their lives, right? It's a relatively small number of people who stop, take a minute and say, okay, what are the pros and what are the cons of this? And to your point, when you're talking about buying your primary residence in a place like Monterey, right now where pricing is at an all-time high. And even if it wasn't at an all-time high, pricing in Monterey is so much higher than the median home prices in the US. What you need to understand is, what is the opportunity cost of that action? You know, if you were to take that down payment, like you were talking about, that $1 million house that you would have to buy in Monterey and putting 20% down there, right? That's $200,000. Well, what most people don't, they also don't get this concept. And I know that you know this because you read Robert Kiyosaki just like I do, right? When I understood this, it was earth shattering for me. But your primary residence is not an asset. Not the way that Robert Kiyosaki defines it or the way that I define it, right? Or the way that Jen and Rene define it, right? An asset is something that brings money to you every single month, right? My primary resident definitely does not bring me money every single month, right? It is money out the door every single month, right? There's the mortgage payment, there's the expenses. I just had to have the electrician over to fix something, right? The plumber, those things go out the door. So when you're making the decision, if you're in a high price market like a California, New York, Virginia, think about the opportunity cost. What you could be using that down payment to do is to create a positive cash flow income stream somewhere else. And I kind of did the math just kind of before this, just to kind of illustrate a point, right? If we had $200,000 that you could use as a down payment for that property in Monterey, and you took that and you bought 4 rental properties in Jacksonville. Now, what we've done is the property, your primary residence in Monterey, was a liability. It was not going to bring any positive cash flow to you. But those properties in Jacksonville, those are 4 assets that bring positive cash flow to you. Did you know that if you took it out for 30 years and you saw what the average rents are today, and you guess that that rents are going to appreciate at about 3% a year, which is typically what they do, that decision alone would create $10,000 a month in passive income alone. Just by that one decision, which you would have invested in a primary residence, created a liability, versus taking that down payment, turning into 4 assets in Jacksonville, having that thing paid off, and that turns into a $10,000 a month asset that you created. So many people don't understand this, and they're still influenced by what they think they should do. But when you paint the picture of the opportunity cost, people come to the same conclusion that Jen and Rene came to, which is it's not always the right move. And many times, if you're thinking about how much quicker you can get to your financial goals, that's an untapped resource. That down payment in that high price market is an untapped resource that could shave years off of your retirement or whatever your goal may be.
Listen, Greg, I feel as the non-expert here, I feel somewhat able to chime in here because Jen, I'm asking that question myself every day right now, right? Like I moved to Jacksonville 2 years ago, and I told myself I was going to live here for a couple of years before I buy a house, like figure out if I want to stay here. I do. I love it here. And as I analyze that question, I think about the last time that I was thinking about this question. I was fresh out of college in 2003. And at that time, I felt like the whole world kind of changed their decision-making on why they buy houses because of this crazy appreciation that happened for the first time ever, or from what I understand, the first time ever, right? Because of mortgage rates. But at the time I was moving around with this corporate job, so I couldn't buy a home, right? Like, or I could buy a home, but I didn't, right? Because I knew that at some point it was going to fall out and I was going to be moving around. And I think that during that time period, something really pervasive hit everyone, right? Like those 10 years that are so recent, yet so long ago, everybody started thinking about houses and their primary residence as this rapidly appreciating thing that they could cash out in and that they could do. Like I actually at that time, when I first moved to California, I bought a condo in Riverside, which, as you know, was like ground zero for the housing collapse. And I sold it in 9 months because I got relocated and I just thought it was totally normal. And I made money and I got out with, with a little bit of cash. But I think people still have that mentality and are still thinking about that piece when they buy. When I thought about it then, and when I think about it now, and one of the reasons I left Miami is because when I think about buying a home, even before reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm halfway through, I think about it as am I in the place where I want to be for a really, really long time? And do I never really want to move again? Right? Like, or at least for the next 10 to 20 years, right? Like moving sucks. And I just see it as, if I'm somewhere where I can break even on my cost of living, renting versus owning, and or even maybe pay a little bit of premium for control of my own life, then I'm going to think about buying a home, right? Like as long as that equation makes sense, plus the tax savings, blah, 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 financial equation, I think has to be somewhere between break even / you pay a premium to stay in the same place. So yes, I think we're at the top of a market, but that doesn't even, right now that I'm thinking about buying in Jacksonville, I'm just thinking, man, I'm going to be here. Like I don't ever want to leave Jacksonville. It's wonderful. And at the end of the day, I've seen where everybody else, every other place I've lived, if I would have thought about, well, if I'm going to be here in 10 years, that still would have been a good investment, even though it was top of the market 10 years ago. Right. So I think the answer is people aren't thinking about it correctly. And the people that are buying it, if you're thinking about it correctly, it's to control your own destiny. Right. But if you're thinking about it as like, no, this is a big investment I'm making, I just think that's false. And I'm not even a real estate expert. So anyways.
No, that's really great point. And thank you for explaining that. The other night we were talking with our West Coast Swing dance community. We can't dance with them, but we get online with them and socialize. And I was asking them, why do you guys think the market's so high? And they said, well, a lot of people lost their homes in the fires, so they have to find a new place to live, whether it be renting or buying. So everyone has their different reasons. And there's such an interesting migration going on. And now that COVID is really taken a hold and it's changed the way we work, it's changed the way we do school, more people are realizing I don't have to be in this place that I don't want to be at. I can work anywhere I want. And the kids, they don't necessarily have to show up 5 days out of the week. They can show up 4 days out of the week or be online part of it. And it's a very interesting time. So we're seeing so much movement. And didn't you guys say in an earlier conversation that, so many people are coming to Jacksonville from the Northeast, from the South, from the West? Like, it is a hot spot.
Absolutely. You've had an incredible amount of in-migration to the Southeast and specifically to Jacksonville from those areas that are in the Northeast, right? And that are more densely populated. And it's almost like unlocking something that people have wanted to do for a long time. People have been coming from the Northeast to the Southeast, but the thing that was holding them back from doing it in droves was they were tied to their job.
Exactly.
And now at this moment, they're not tied to their job because most people are remote. But that's not all going to change. I mean, the remote work setting is a way of life much more in 2021 than it was in 2020. It will still be there in
Amen.
2022 and 2023,
right.
which really benefits housing prices in a place like Jacksonville.
Yeah. And I'm a data point there, right? Like I'm a data point, Sean. So by the way, in the beginning of the call, I always tell everybody when you're chatting to drop the panelist, there's like a blue button right above your chat and drop down from panelist to panelist and attendee so everybody can see it. But Sean put this guy with an emoji. He's another data point, right? So like I've long kind of said, I've said something for a long time, which is as the world becomes more virtual, more people want to live in good weather, high quality of life places, right? I experienced this in Miami from 2010 to 2020 to 2018 when I was in Miami, seeing New York banks open up headquarters in Miami, right? Like, cause they have this like infrastructure and they were figuring it out. But I think another thing that I believe is that COVID has rapidly accelerated trends that were already coming. This trend of wanting to move to high quality of life places that have like great weather and are much lower priced than these traditional dense urban centers in the Northeast where we originally settled when we came over as pilgrims, right? Like that trend is only accelerating and COVID has rapidly accelerated that. And again, it's not going anywhere because along with that trend is the virtual connectivity, is the work from home, is the acceptance of online communication and Zoom as a way to meet and to build corporate culture and to build community and these kinds of things. So, I agree with what you're saying. Not every market is the same, right? Like I think Jacksonville in particular, which I have been since I got here, comparing it to Orange County 40 years ago from my experience in Orange County 15 years ago, is you know, it's that, right? Like, so I just don't think all markets are built the same. But we got some really good questions in the chat right now that really pertain to y'all. And I would love to ask you. Lewis Hudnell asks, hello from Milpitas, California. Hello, Lewis.
Hey, Milpitas, only an hour and a half away.
There you go, West Side. So if you plan to stay in California, what is your plan for buying a primary residence? Or is your plan not to buy a primary residence to continue to purchase rental properties?
Great question, actually. Okay, so here's where I'm at in my head right now, and it could change. So here's the plan. I'm saving money like crazy. Since we have no social life during COVID and no fear of missing out, we are just squirreling money away as much as possible. Now, not everyone can do that. Our marketing agency does tend to cater to the auto repair industry. So the auto repair industry is tending to be stable. So we're very fortunate. Our numbers are steady. They're not growing right now. So we should end out the year about the same as we did last year. Knock on wood. We're very fortunate. Okay. With that, I still am really watching our numbers business-wise. We've all taken pay cuts. We're reassessing some of the software contracts we have, some of the different vendors that we have, and we're just in a mode right now as business owners that we are preparing for the next wave of crap to hit the fan. Elections are coming up, and I don't care which side you're on, somebody is going to be unhappy with the results. Okay, so you know, and this has been such a dumpster fire of a year that I'm not surprised by anything anymore, because it's like, oh yes, of course that's going to happen, right? So the long-term plan is, I predict, because of all my research, because of all the things that I'm studying, right? I predict that we'll see the bottom of the market hit around 2023, 2024. And I plan on striking at that time. So we're squirreling away our money. So what we're doing is, tax refund is coming to us. And I told Greg at the beginning of this that we'll be investing about $20K, $25K in hard money lending with JWB. Yay. And the reason why I'm not buying a house is because we would need more for that. And I don't have enough for a down payment right now for a house. So let's just go ahead and put it into hard money loans so it can grow with a nice little interest rate. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And we plan on purchasing more rental properties as we continue. Then what I'm hopeful for, and again, I'm not sure about the timing, but I know that I want to strike and buy a house for ourselves in 2024-ish, depending on what's going on, right? And the idea is I would love to build the dream home, but who knows? By that point, we may not be able to build the dream home at that point. We might just be able to get into a home, because I'm predicting that the bottom of the market's going to happen, right? But what I'm hopeful for is, over the years and as we accumulate, that the money from the rental properties will pay for the mortgage on the residential, the primary residential. And therefore, we don't have to worry about working ourselves into our 90s.
And if I could add a little footnote to that, I know the question was asked where, the primary residence. There's also been talk of both of us, believe it or not, possibly moving even more west.
Hawaii.
Wow.
So,
really?
Such ties there in terms of our
fans and friends.
I don't want to say fans, but like friends, people that we dance with.
We're all fans of them too.
It's been a magical place in more than just like, let's go to Hawaii to vacation.
Yeah,
but because of our dance family, we've been there, I think, almost at least once every
we teach every dance year, every year,
like 5 years or so
in Maui every year.
Little footnote: primary residence build, or there's always Hawaii, maybe for a portion of time at least.
And he blends in. Everyone thinks he's Hawaiian, so
I think you just have
thing going on. But yeah, that's the whole thing. We want the money to grow. We want the money to work for itself. And if the money can end up paying for our primary residence, yeah.
That's awesome. That is the type of why that, we ask people, what is your motivation for investing in rental properties? That's the type of motivation we love to hear. And it just makes perfect sense. I didn't know this until just hearing this, but that's the way that smart, savvy, educated folks look at the decision to buy a primary versus to buy rental properties in a place like Jacksonville, Florida, right? You make the right decision with the resources that you have to get those assets in. You build up that income stream, and then guess what? Then that can cover your payment for your dream house out in California. I'm so excited for you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's so cool. By the way, I want to learn dancing in Maui.
I just want to be Jen and Rene. I mean, who on this call doesn't want to be Jen and Rene right
It's
now,
so
right?
cool. It's so cool. So really perfect transition, right? So Sharon Johnson here in the chat says, "Aloha, I am self-employed," right? So, yeah. Unable to qualify with, so she's self-employed like y'all, unable to qualify with what tax returns show. Owns one duplex with no mortgage, have a mortgage on my condo dwelling, would love to grow my portfolio. How do I obtain financing to obtain another multifamily unit? And I think this is maybe a great question for obtaining financing, but Jen, maybe you can also talk about obtaining financing as a business owner.
Oh.
Well, yeah, I'll jump in and then Jen jump in as well. So the first thing I would tell you is, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name. What was the name?
Sharon Johnston.
Sharon, so thank you for being on the show with us. So what I would tell you is that not all lenders are created equal. And the first thing is that while you might have an issue with that one lender as far as getting qualified, that may not be the same answer elsewhere. So I would encourage you to reach out to our team, get in our network of approved lenders and see if something can be done, because self-employed folks are folks that we love to work with, as you can see with Jen and Rene, and there are certain loan programs that can work. And in the worst case scenario, at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel that might not be that long. Generally, it's 2 years for a self-employed individual at the worst case scenario before you can start to get financed, and many times it's shorter than that. So I would start there. And Jen, do you want to kind of chime in as a self-employed individual how you did it?
Yeah. So Sharon, aloha and mahalo for asking the question. We love our ohana. Listen, though we're self-employed, it doesn't mean we're rolling in money. Okay. In fact, going through our accounting, it's like, oh, really? But the thing is that you hear a lot of, people, they've got these really high paying corporate jobs and they come in and they just buy. I want you all to understand how normal and very middle class we are. Okay. We might own this marketing agency and we might be dance instructors, but we still are watching our pennies like crazy. And we really focus on making sure that our credit is great, because we know that that is the key that unlocks a lot of loaning potential. When COVID hit, a lot of small businesses were jumping after the EIDL,
PPL loans.
the PPP loan and the EIDL. I applied for the EIDL because I liked the grant aspect. We were rejected. So we did not get any loans, any funding from the government. And that was fine because we're actually good. And I really don't like loans. I really don't. But to what Gregg was saying, they really provide the whole package. And so when it was time, I knew I had 20% down, JWB put us in touch with the lenders who would then qualify us and just handle it for us. And so you guys really make the whole thing just so easy. Like seriously, anybody who's on the fence, just get off the fence, hang out with JWB. You'll make money, you'll be happy, and their service is exceptional. Their communication is exceptional. And the people that they work with loan-wise are exceptional. So there you go.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, great testimonial. Did I miss anything in there when she said that she owns a duplex with no mortgage? Is there an opportunity to get a line of credit to invest in a bigger portfolio there, Gregg? I mean, am I thinking about that wrong?
Well, generally it's going to come down to her ability to get financed. So if she could get financed for that next purchase of a rental property, she could also then tap into unlocking some of the equity that she has in her duplex that she owns free and clear. So it kind of comes down to the same answer, right? But if she wasn't able to get finance because she's self-employed for that next purchase of a rental property and get conventional financing, most likely she would not also be able to get a loan or a home equity line of credit that could tap into that. So we really just got to work on the right partner and the right situation to make sure that you can get financed. And then Sharon, that's a really cool example where, assuming that you can get financed, then you could go easily from, one rental property to a portfolio and kind of get that diversification, multiple assets in your portfolio very quickly because of the free and clear duplex that you have.
Awesome. And Sharon says, I will reach out to speak with your lenders. Thanks. Certainly reached out to a variety of lenders before asking this question. Have 800 credit score. Greg, you are listening. Thank you. That's really cool. And Sharon, the best move, I put it in the chat, right? If you go to chatwithjwb.com, it takes you straight to a calendar link. You book an appointment with the team and they'll be able to help you out, right? So that's kind of like the next step. If you want to talk to JWB about all these things and, be as cool as Rene and Jen, no big deal. Go to chatwithjwb.com is the next step. But I feel remiss to not just want to dig into your business, Jen and Rene, right? Like, I know you have like a book about dancing and building a business. Tell us, you just sound like the most interesting people in the world.
It's all a ruse. It's all marketing. We're really boring.
Then you're really good marketers. Yeah.
And I'm writing another book. I committed to writing a book in less than 90 days. It's due on Christmas. Oh my God. I don't know why I did that.
If anyone can do it, Jen can. She writes for a living, so it's not out of her wheelhouse entirely.
Yeah.
But it's just, time.
But he's publishing his next book too. Guys, okay, this is the joke in the Filzen family. The women are all the talkers, the men are the silent, strong types. He have a voice, but this guy is extremely talented artist, and he also is publishing his stuff. You want to tell him about that?
I worked during the time, just to backstep a little, during the time Jen was building her business, I was the full employed,
He was the steady
fully
Freddie
employed.
money.
I worked for a company for 20 plus years. So I guess on one regard, I would look really great on paper,
Yeah.
You want stubs? I can literally give you 500 stubs if you want. For some reason, I saved all my checks up. But anyway, I had this job as a graphic designer, and I just, I built up my my knowledge of graphics and being an artist, because that's who I am. I'm an artist, right? So it kind of blends in perfectly with being a dancer. I think of it as a creative endeavor, and ways to kind of channel that creativity into whatever else I'm doing. And with Jen being the marketer, I was that rock, so to speak, as she was building and building. And so, but there was always a team cohesiveness to our relationship outside of, our marriage that really helped to keep the two of us kind of centered, yet progressing and moving toward those goals with JWB. So it really worked out. It really did.
Yeah, I married a unicorn.
That sounds fun.
I love it. Rene, I'll tell you, it's not that you only look great on paper, by the way, buddy. You look great in real life too.
Thank you. Yeah, so my book is an art book that I'm putting together, because that's what I've been doing over the last 2 years since I did leave said employment before in printing to become an individual, to become an independent artist. And so I've been working to some capacity, working with Rockstar, doing graphics and videos for her clients, but also doing my own projects and building my own online store, and trying to
follow along.
My own following.
I check you out on social media. I see all those drawings, man. I'm seeing it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it takes a ton of work.
It's incredible.
As you guys know, to get a soundbite can take so much work.
It's ReneArreola.com, right? Or which?
Yeah.
Well,
So
in the chat, so for everybody who wants to see Rene's art,
if you want a little sidestep, a little side thing to check out, a little sidebar, you can check out my art. But yeah, we focus on basically, like Jen says, the opportunities with JWB allow us to kind of aim somewhat higher, because we have that goal, because we're not looking to buy a primary residence right now, but we're doing the things right now that will help us down the road.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We are the only ones we can rely on. We can't rely on the government. We can't rely on our families. Not that our families don't love us, but that's their money. That's not our money. We need them to, and with the cost of long-term care and hospice and, extended, They need it.
Yeah.
They need that money. We shouldn't be counting on that. We need to stand up on our own. So you guys are helping us tremendously. And I really look forward to more investment with you. And again, it's a matter of saving, right? Because I can get kind of spendy, you know, when COVID is not taking place and someone says, do you want to go on a cruise to Alaska? It's like, yes. Do you want to go to dance competitions? Yes. Do you want to fly here? Yes. And then I don't have as much money to save and put on a down payment on a house. So I have to be a little more thrifty. Thank you, COVID.
You've done quite well. You've done quite well, my friend.
Yes.
Especially with what you have built up with us and now with private lending. I think it's good to have a little fun too, right?
Oh, you have to. Yeah.
And I'm so lucky. I got to marry my dance partner. It's so cool. Like we're not ever bored. We're working or we're dancing.
Yeah, I mean, we work a lot, but we've kind of created the situation of doing the kind of work we want to do, which is a whole separate conversation, you know. But yeah, we enjoy what we do. We enjoy where we live, and we have our goals, and we just keep our sights on them, and still try to live life. I mean, and still trying to enjoy things within our means.
Well, I think you guys have created an excellent model for how to live, really. And this book is Jen's first book. So we've got another one coming out, Jen. Is that right?
Yep.
Nice.
It's a business book on relationship marketing. It's going to be called Give to Get. And it's the whole concept of reciprocity. And when you use reciprocity, you are establishing more deeper connections and relationships. And those relationships as a currency are as important as money as a currency. So relationships are what's getting a lot of businesses through tough economic times. And so I'm going to be sharing the stories of a lot of what my clients have done to make them super successful and reach their next $1 million in revenue.
Nice.
And I don't know if it would be of any help, but like if there are any business owners or marketers on this call, I welcome you. Tomorrow I'm actually putting together a free webinar. It just happens to be courtesy, and I'm not selling anything here. It's just I'm teaching how to refine your social media strategy. And so all you have to do is go to the website, rock-star-mktg.com. I'm not the only Rockstar Marketing, so I had to spell it funky. But yeah, rock-star-mktg.com. Go ahead and register for the free webinar, and I'm going to walk you through some really great ways to refine that social media strategy so you can create it and remove the chaos from it.
Awesome. Real quick, are you? I put that all in the chat, right? I put your dance co. Yeah, I put ReneArreola.com. I put Rockstar Marketing in there. Everybody, like I'm gonna like tune in, right? Like we'll share it in the group. By the way, anybody that's new here, we have a Facebook group. It's got 1,700 investors in it. Go to jwbfacebookgroup.com if you want to hang out with us midweek. See Gregg go live in there and network. Like you said, be part of the community, right? Like meet the other people that can answer the questions. And Jen, this is just an awesome. Everything that you're saying is everything I believe in, right? Like as a fellow marketer myself, that we hope that the Not Your Average Investor show is a proof of concept of your book, right? And what we're doing here.
Yeah,
right?
You guys are giving information freely. You're not charging. You're not nickel and diming for this knowledge. This is knowledge that you're sharing so you can lift up and support those who are learning from you. And yeah, it's true. It's like the reason why I put on these free webinars and the reason why you guys are doing this is because you want to help, you want to serve, you know that it's bigger than you. And if you don't share your talents with the world, how are you going to make the world a better place? So if I can uplift and support somebody by sharing my knowledge, it doesn't take anything away from me. It's like a candle, right? You light a candle and you take that candle and you can light other candles in the room. It doesn't take anything away from that one candle. But when you know that you have the power to help and support and light other people up, why wouldn't you do it? Yeah. Oh, so I see the question. Do we have kids? No. I think that's another reason why we are successful is we don't have children. All kidding aside, I know people love their kids, but I just turned 50 and Rene is 46. We ain't having kids.
Yeah, that was really early on. That was part of the conversation, and we
Nope.
clicked. And maybe to a point made earlier, you get into a certain routine or something expected. You get married, you have kids, you buy a home. So like, not that there's anything wrong with that narrative, but it just wasn't our narrative. And so it just made it clear, right, for us to say, well, we don't need to buy a home. We want to buy a home, but we don't need to. So we bought homes, from JWB, and that story as you heard today. So yeah, we are not your average investor, as the title indicates, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Yeah, we are very unconventional. But for those people that do have kids, though, it's still very possible. I mean, you still have a long-term future, and yes, the kids are an expensive thing, right? Starting my business was an expensive thing. We all have our different stages, but my support and lifting up Sergio and anybody else who is feeling like, well, I'm not where they are. Well, hey, you know what? We haven't been where we are until we are today. I mean, there have been plenty of times where I've looked at other people with envy, like, oh, they seem to have their act together. You know what? We're all on the ladder somewhere. Some of us are ahead, some of us are behind, but we're all going in the same place. We're all going up. And the beauty about this community is that we're all lending a hand, saying, hey, take my hand, I'll show you how to get there, right? You're not climbing that ladder alone, you're with a tribe. This is a tribe, and this is a great tribe to be in. And so for those who have kids, for those who have not been running their business for 10, 11 years, we're all there, and we're all growing. And guess what? Even when you arrive and the kids have graduated, or the business is now, mature, there's still something that is going to challenge you, like health, or, some new venture that you want to go off on. But it's okay. Just keep the eye on the prize. Keep the long-term goals, and you're going to be just fine.
Amazing. That was amazing. I could go on with this conversation for the next 2 hours. Greg, I think it's time to show what that help has done. Show what the investment has created. You ready? You ready for the big reveal, bud?
Oh yeah. We'll go out with a bang.
We'll go out with a bang and just show this. Yeah.
There you go. So Jen and Rene came to us in 2012. They said, we're going to put our money with you all. We trust you. And we told Jen and Rene that we were going to return 19% returns year over year. And the cool thing is, as I was just putting the numbers, I hadn't looked at the numbers for your portfolio in a little while. We're at 21%. Which is really, really awesome. Every year, I just want you all to know that we care so much about doing what we say we're going to do. And it's one thing to do that, but to be a part of your lives and your success means even more. And so we appreciate the trust, and it's really cool to show up some 9 years later, 8 years later, whatever it is, and be overperforming, set up for success.
That's better than my stocks are performing. That's great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Greg, do you want to talk about the financing versus conventional, or do you want to kind of wrap it up?
We've got the slide. I'll take 2 minutes and just explain this. This was a theme that we talked about last week, which was the difference between a cash purchase and a finance purchase. I want to look back in time, right? We look now at the decision for Jen and Rene to invest in 2012. We can all look at this and earn, 21% year over year and say, wow, they nailed it. But in reality, it wasn't always clear at that moment. Just like for you who are investing right now or making the decision to invest, you have questions. Well, if we look back and we see what decisions they made, we can learn a lot, right? Jen and Rene had the decision to either buy with cash or to use conventional financing. And now with hindsight, looking at it, I wanted to compare those two. On the left here, you're going to see the cash purchase, right? For a purchase price, $223,000 would have been what they required in order to do that. Capital's a thing for all of us, right? We have limited capital for all of us. So it's very likely if that was the way to go, Jen and Rene could not have purchased 2 properties and probably not 1 property to do that, right? This of course is 2 purchases. So your total initial investment there would have been $226,000. Now, their net return on investment would have been over $100,000, which is incredible and is actually much more than conventional financing. But the IRR, your return on investment, is the great equalizer. And that return for cash is actually 9.5%. So if you switch over to conventional financing, we'll leave with this little nugget here, but if you switch over to the conventional financing, which is on the right-hand side here, you look at that total initial investment line, that's because they only had to put 20% down, right? So we're connecting the dots on a lot of things here. Instead of putting 20% down on their primary residence, they decided to put 20% down on their JWB investment properties. Their total return on investment is actually lower as in a dollar figure. And the main reason there is because they have a mortgage payment to pay now. If they didn't have a mortgage payment, then it would be what the cash purchase return is for dollars. But again, the great equalizer is I'm going down here, 21% return on investment. That's the IRR. That takes into account that they only put a little bit under $50,000 down to acquire these two assets. And that's why conventional financing, for those of you who it's the right place for your investment goals, for your family situation, your financial situation today, investing with conventional financing can supercharge your return on investment, just like Jen and Rene.
That's awesome. Thanks for putting that out, showing that illustration, Greg. It really solidifies and just validates our decision for our situation, and for people who might be thinking about it or who are in a similar, bracket, so to speak. So it's awesome.
And Marilyn asked some really great questions. And she was asking how old were my parents when they bought their first rental property with you guys, and they were in their early 60s, and so that's good. Actually, no, mid 60s. And then what was the
Yes, if you had trouble with tenants paying.
Oh yeah,
during COVID.
well we've had some issues with tenants, but not during COVID. In fact, I don't know what magic secret sauce you guys have been pouring, but yeah, no problems at all. So congratulations and kudos to your management team, because I know that communication and working with people is one of your strengths. And so there have been no problems at all. So bravo.
Well, thank you guys.